My name is Suki Rob Wilder, and I will be your moderator this evening. Welcome to our discussion on what's happening and what we're doing to support our most vulnerable immigrant populations here in Sonoma County. And of note, the National League of Voters has taken on immigration as an issue by partnering with National Partnership for New Americans. This is an organization seeking to help immigrants and refugees, including with the current ferocious assault on these communities nationwide. This evening, or afternoon, actually, you can see it's still sunny, we have Beth Aldrich and Jessica Carmona from the Secure Families Collaborative here in Sonoma County. Beth will introduce us to the organizations that make up the collaborative and how they work together. And Beth has been resource navigator for the Secure Families Collaborative since October of 2023. In this role, she assists Sonoma County's immigrants, as well as community-based organizations, by connecting people to the services they need. And these services may include legal referrals, financial assistance, healthcare, transportation, food, and housing. She also works to bridge the gap between individuals and essential community resources by providing personalized case management. Now, before her employment at Secure Families, Beth was a healthcare administrator for many years, and during this time, she was also an active community volunteer. Over a 20-year period, she taught citizenship and ESL classes, helped fire survivors find community resources, accompanied newcomer families, and became the leader of the Sonoma County accompaniment team. And she acted as a legal observer. This work prepared her for employment at Secure Families. And a note about Jessica Magana Carmona. She's the daughter of immigrants in a mixed status family. And as such, Jessica brings a deeply personal understanding of the challenges that our communities face. She joined Secure Families Collaborative because she's passionate about ensuring immigrant families have access to the support, information, and legal services they need to thrive. With a background as a legal assistant, along with experience in human resources, digital communications, and design, she brings a unique blend of skills to this work. She's a people person at heart, outgoing, compassionate, and committed to community-centered advocacy. She's honored to contribute to this collaborative alongside others who share this purpose. So this session is being recorded, but with a caveat, and that's that, as you know, with immigration, things are changing very swiftly. So what's true today may not be quite as true tomorrow. So therefore, it's wise to check with Secure Families for the latest information. So please, if you haven't already, mute your microphones. And we will have time for questions. In that case, please put the questions in the chat so that I can see them and I will ask them. Thank you. Now, let's get started. Beth?
Okay, Jessica is going to share our slideshow. So the first slide is just the name of the organization that Jessica and I represent, the Sonoma County Secure Families Collaborative. Over the next couple of slides, we'll tell you more about the collaborative and what we do. So these are our current partner organizations. These are all organizations that we have previously or are currently doing fundraising for or have offered some other support. The USF School of Law has a deportation defense clinic up in Healdsburg. SIS, Sonoma Immigrant Services, has legal offices in 3 locations in the county, in the Sonoma Valley, in Santa Rosa, and our newest Secure Families partner is we have youth centered immigration legal services being offered in Windsor. We've just been doing that since about February. That's something new for us. Catholic Charities has been a partner of Secure Families since the very beginning. We are strengthening that partnership in 2025 because, as many of you have probably heard, the federal government has reduced Catholic Charities funding quite a bit. And so Secure Families is currently partnering with Catholic Charities to raise funds for their Immigration Legal Services Department. In the middle are two icons for the County of Sonoma and Sonoma County's Economic Development Collaborative. And on the bottom row in the bottom is an icon for United Way. We are working on a three-way project between the County Economic Development Collaborative, United Way, and Secure Families to create an asset map of resources available to our immigrant neighbors, as well as to interview 750, 1,000 or more immigrants. Jessica and Paco from United Way, you'll see them out at community events every weekend, interviewing people. We want to find out, maybe there's enough food banks in Cloverdale, but there's not enough food banks in Guerneville. Or, we're trying to find the gaps. And we're trying to find that both by interviewing the community-based organizations and immigrants themselves. The next two icons, North Bay Organizing Project and Queer Asylum Accompaniment, the way we partner with them, we have actually done fundraising for Queer Asylum Accompaniment, which is part of North Bay Organizing Project. Additionally, I'm a trained legal observer and an accompanier with North Bay Organizing Project, as is Claudia on this call. And then the very last icon in the corner is Petaluma Family Resource Center. And we fundraise with the city of Petaluma to get some funding for the Family Resource Center because they help a lot of immigrants in the South County. So Jessica, if you could advance the slide. So I'm not going to read from this slide, but basically Secure Families came about as the result of the 2017 fires. At the time, the Board of Supervisors realized that there was not a lot of interpretation and translation of community resources. They found out that people were afraid to go to shelters because there was rumors going around that ICE was there. Undocumented people did not qualify for FEMA funding. So it was a moment for the Board of Supervisors to say that we need to do better for our non-English speaking neighbors and we need to do better for our immigrant neighbors. And one of the things they did at that time was to form the Secure Families Collaborative. Initially, we were very closely aligned with the county and with the Community Foundation, but we are now our own independent nonprofit. So if you want to go to the next slide, Jessica, and you can go skip one more. So originally, Secure Families, the initial funding was for pro bono legal defense, as you can see as Pillar 1. But in the interim years, as the legal climate and the political climate has changed, Secure Families has really expanded what we do. We now do resource navigation. Initially, I was hired as a resource navigator to help the clients of our immigration attorneys, the Secure Families funded immigration attorneys. But after the election, our board and our executive director decided to open it up So we take resource navigation calls from all over the county, even from people who are not Secure Families clients. Some of the calls are really simple. You know, I live in Katati and I need diapers. Some are people who need full on case management. You know, they need everything from housing to employment to ESL classes to attorney referrals. So that's pillar number 2. Pillar number 3 is we put on a series of 7 legal clinics after the election and into January. And the reason we did this was because there's not enough immigration attorneys in this county. So not everybody who needs an attorney has access to one. So we put on these clinics so that people could come and have an opportunity for a free legal consult. And at these same clinics, there was all kinds of education, outreach, and services. Claudia even tabled, I know at least one of our clinics, maybe more. There was Know Your Rights training. There were family law attorneys. There was criminal, what we call crim-im, which are the intersection between criminal and immigration attorneys. We had between 10 and 20 organizations at each one, giving out information on emergency management, on mental health resources. So they were just an opportunity for the members of our immigrant community to not only get legal education, but to find out about all the other services that are available. And then finally, pillar number 4 is we help other immigrant serving nonprofits, teaching them about fundraising, teaching them about grant writing, offering all kinds of support to them. So not only does Secure Families thrive, but all these immigrant facing community organizations thrive as well. So I talk a little fast and I'm sorry about that, but are there any questions on these first few slides before I turn it over to Jessica for the next slide?
No, we're okay so far. And people, please feel free to write any kinds of questions you want or something. If there's something you'd like to hear more about, please put that in the chat. So far, we have none.
Okay. Okay, Jessica.
Okay. Okay, so as they mentioned earlier, I am a daughter of immigrants.
Your key?
Oh.
Oh.
Can you hear me?
I don't think you had them on.
Hello?
I can hear you, Jessica.
Okay.
Can everybody else hear?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, so they had mentioned earlier that I am a daughter of immigrants in a mixed status family, and I'm not unique in that sense. 1 in 4 in Sonoma County have a family member without legal status. So it's an issue that affects so many in the county. Impact that we're having is in 2024, we had 40 community outreach events, including the ones that Beth had mentioned regarding the legal clinics, which so many people were so grateful to have because, like she mentioned, they didn't have access or resources to legal advice. We had a total of 2,912 clients served since 2018, with attendees at outreach events in Q4, 535. We had 7 million in funding for immigrant assistance since 2018. 324 total consultations in 2024, and many of those were from those legal clinics that we had. I know in one of the events, I think we did like 50 almost consultations, if I'm not mistaken. So we had a big impact in the community last year. 120 non-legal resources provided in 2024 through resource navigation. 36 DACA renewals completed in 2024, which was amazing. 184 total cases in just last year alone. Now, with the on February 4th of this year, the Sonoma County Board of Supervisors approved a $500,000 grant to a general fund for secure families. The purpose of this was to provide education on individuals' legal rights for immigration status. But more than anything, Secure Families was chosen to be an administrator of the funds. So these funds were distributed to widely to different organizations in the county. Secure Families was chosen. A request for proposals was distributed widely. 13 proposals were submitted. Of the proposals that were reviewed, an independent panel helped decide and the distribution of funds to go to 5 organizations and collaboratives. The first one is Family Resource and Network of Sonoma County. And it's using a network of trusted community partners to provide know your rights education and family preparedness plans, legal consults, and wraparound social services. The second would be for Immigrant Health and Legal Collaborative, using a network of clinics and door-to-door services to provide know your rights education and family preparedness plans. African Advocacy Network. They're also doing know your rights education, legal screenings, asylum clinics for African and Afro-Caribbean immigrants. The KBBF, aka the Bilingual Broadcasting Foundation, also known as. The programming is in Spanish and indigenous languages. They're also including know your rights, family preparedness plans, immigration law updates, and resource referrals. Ben Star Collective was another one. They are a community of health workers. They are doing know your rights, legal service navigation, caregiver preparedness plans, and health equity outreach. Now, a lot of questions that we get asked is how can we help, right? And helping out in the community can be in several different ways. You can know the rights. Here we have an example of know your rights training for your neighbors. These are some cards that we've been handing out to the community. The red cards, I'm not sure if many of you have heard of them, but the red cards that we're handing out are constitutional rights. Those are good for everyone regardless of status. The yellow card that we're handing out is a good card to have on hand if you see ICE in your neighborhood, come to your home, to your job. It guides them through what to do and how to manage that interaction with ICE. If they call that number, they'll have a legal representative sent out. And it offers a lot of other assistance as well. They can also verify the validity of warrants and things of that nature. So we want to get these cards out to the community so that they can best protect themselves, right? There's also advocate. While we provide services, there are many ways you can advocate for your non-citizen neighbors. These can include writing letters to elected officials and things like that. You can also volunteer. We have a lot of organizations that we're partnered with, and others too, like the Redwood Empire Food Bank. There are multiple community-based organizations. Also, you can also do training for legal for if for
To
legal
become a
observer. I'm
legal
sorry, I had a
observer.
blink. It's legal
Legal-
observer. You can also train to be a legal observer, and while being bilingual helps, you don't need to be bilingual in order to volunteer for these organizations. I know QAA looks for volunteers to spend time with some of our community members who might be feeling ostracized or looking to feel welcome in their community, and that's a great way to volunteer as well. We also have our Immigrant Legal Resource Center. This link is a workable link. So if you guys want to access more like a trusted source for information on immigrant related topics and updates, that's a place to look. Okay. Some other opportunities include, like I was mentioning, the North Bay Organizing Project. They have legal observers. They also need people to answer the phones. The QAA was the accompaniment queer asylum. They're also, like I was mentioning, they are also looking for volunteers to just spend time with community members. And then sanctuary congregations. I've actually been working with the sanctuary of congregations. There's a list of churches that are involved. And they have community members that are willing to house immigrants who are losing housing or in need of housing. And right now we're working on what that process is going to look like. Since we have volunteers, we want to make sure we have background checks and things of that nature. So we're going to be doing some training for the people who are going to be housing, so that they can best protect the people that they're going to be bringing into their home. And yeah, so that's an awesome new project that we've been working on. And then you can donate. You can donate to your favorite community organization, with federal cuts coming in from everywhere. Funding is definitely, there's a lot of organizations that are struggling and could use funding, so they would appreciate your help. Any questions?
Well, we do have a couple of questions here in the chat, and I have some too. Our first question is, how does someone become a partner with Secure Family Collaborative? And what are the advantages of being a partner?
Okay, I'll take that one because I have a longer history with Secure Families than Jessica. People become partners with us by many different ways. For example, a recent partner is the Petaluma Family Resource Center, and they became our partner because we heard of a funding opportunity that was specific to the city of Petaluma. So we wanted to reach out to an organization in Petaluma that we knew provided services to immigrants. So we actually reached out to the Petaluma Family Resource Center and said, we have this funding opportunity. Are you interested? So sometimes it comes from the outside. Sometimes the organizations, call us. Sometimes we call them. We're constantly in meetings and collaborations with all different organizations across the counties. It's sometimes as simple as someone will say, oh, we just got $200,000 cut. We lost a grant. The federal government cut off funding. And then our executive director, who is a fundraising whiz, will then pick up the phone and call them and say, maybe we can help. So there's no one path to becoming a Secure Families partner, I guess is the answer. And then the second part, what are the benefits to becoming a partner? I think there's a couple of benefits. One is we have convenings where all the partners can meet and share best practices and get to know each other, learn from each other. But I think probably the most obvious one is, our partners, we fundraise for them and we write grants for them. And so it's often a financial incentive to be our partner.
Thank you. Thank you, Beth, very much.
Sure.
And the second question may be a little difficult to answer here. I'm interested in statistics about current deportations and/or ICE encounters in Sonoma County?
I don't have them at the top of my head. I do hear them once a month because North Bay Organizing Project does keep track of that. But I didn't bring him to this meeting. But if I could call on Claudia, because Claudia might actually know more about that than me.
Sure, Claudia, can
Yeah.
you?
Yes, I'm here. Thanks, Beth. And thanks to the League of Women Voters also for doing this. It's wonderful. So we have had some detentions and incidents in Sonoma County. The North Bay Rapid Response Network also serves Solano and Napa counties, and I would say until this month, there have been more detentions or more ICE interactions in Napa and arrests in Napa and Solano counties. But we have had some in Petaluma and Windsor and some incidents. There was an incident today in Sebastopol, right? But my understanding is no one was arrested. Is that
That's my understanding as well,
That's-
because I got some texts and phone calls about that incident as well.
Right. So, and then you may have read in the newspaper about the person who went to out of probation, who was taken in the probation department. So there have been a lot of families do not want this advertised. So we don't always report everything that's happened. And if the family feels that it's fine to report something, it would be on the North Bay Rapid Response or NBOP Facebook page. We try to get out some confirmation as soon as possible to alleviate panic, if that's so, and also to inform people. So I have some, and then for numbers, the most recent I have is actually from January. And there was one detention at the Sonoma County Jail, and that's because it takes so long to put the numbers together to go back through the logs. So two, where the sheriff was holding people until ICE could pick them up. And I don't know the reason for that, but that's kind of an issue in this county. Right. So
Thank
that's
you.
all I can say.
So I have a question that got directed to you, Claudia, because I didn't know how to get it to the general audience. About the DACA. Let's see, where are we? Are the DACA folks that have renewed, will they be less likely to be in the crosshairs of ICE? Does anybody know the answer to that?
My legal counsel says anyone who is in the data system is in the crosshairs. So anyone who's DACA, anyone who has a green card, anyone who's applied for a visa, because the immigration enforcement has that person's employment address, their home address. So it's all conjecture, right?
And I'd like to add to Claudia's response. Jessica and I went to a meeting at LoCien last week. I don't know if any of you were there. And Bill Hing, who was one of the founders of Secure Families, who's the head of ILRC and also immigration attorney at USF, spoke about DACA. And he said that he hopes this doesn't come to pass, but he thinks either in this Supreme Court term or the next one, part or all of DACA will be found to be unconstitutional. DACA protects people kind of in two ways. One is it protects them from deportation, and the second, it gives them a work permit. And he said he thinks for sure that they will lose their work permits, and that he thinks they also may lose their protection against deportation. And just from my perspective at Secure Families, we fund attorneys all over the county, and almost every single one of our attorney offices has DACA recipients who are employees there. And if you talk, we do a partnership with the health clinics. If you talk to the health clinics, almost all of them have employees who are DACA recipients. They're school teachers, they're social workers, they're attorneys, they're accountants, they're all, I mean, there's DACA recipients in every walk of life in our community. And so that is a very, very frightening thing.
Okay, thank you. Here's another question in the chat. It's about sanctuary.
Mhm.
What kind of support do people get when they find sanctuary housing? And what support do host families need, and what do they get? And what are responsibilities? So it's a kind of general question about the specifics of sanctuaries. And
Yeah, so with the sanctuary housing, we're still in the early stages of rolling out the intake process, but the general guideline that we have is it's going to be unique to each family. Each family is going to have you know, some specifications, some rules within that host family is going to have. You know, maybe they have you know, kitchen time is during hours or during this time. So it's going to be very specified to each host family. In terms of responsibilities, those are going to be up to the availability and willingness of the host family. If all they want to do is host and have and offer space, then they can do that. If they want to volunteer in other ways, like assist with like transportation to maybe their court cases or what have you, then they can do that. So they're definitely able to control like what responsibilities they're willing and able to take on.
so that varies with the
Yeah,
individual.
it's gonna vary with each host and family. We're also looking at, you know, we have one family where it's a large family. There's I believe 8 family members with all varying ages of children, and so we're seeing that it'll likely be that there'll be a split. We'll have to split them between 2 families, so it's going to be very unique to each situation.
Okay, thank you. This next question is a long one, and it's not about, well, it may be about families. It's not about Latinos. The federal government informed Episcopal Migration Ministries that under the terms of our federal grant, this is a member of that community, we are expected to resettle white Afrikaners from South Africa, whom the US government has classified as refugees. In light of our church's steadfast commitment to racial justice and reconciliation and our historic ties with the Anglican Church of South Africa, we are not able to take this step. Accordingly, we have determined that by the end of the federal fiscal year, we will conclude our refugee resettlement grant agreements with the US federal government. And the question is, do you have any comments on this news? And who would like to respond to this?
Well, I'll comment. I read that in the paper and I said, good for them. I mean, as a individual, maybe not as representative to your families, even though I think secure families would feel the same way. You know, I mean, what can you say to that? The thing that we're seeing is that the federal government is using funding cuts because they cut most of the funding to the refugee serving organizations, including the faith-based one. So they're using funding cuts, they're using threats to take away nonprofit status, they're arresting attorneys, they're arresting activists. So they're using every method in their arsenal to destroy organizations that are providing services like the faith-based organizations that were helping refugees. And I think they knew, I mean, it's my, you know, I think they knew that this was going to be the result, but they're trying to basically destroy the refugee program in this country. So I don't know if Claudia or Jessica have anything to add to that.
No, I agree. I like Beth mentioned, they're trying to strip away nonprofit status from organizations that are, helping
Right.
immigrants or whatever they decide to deem terrorists or not or what have you, to try and strip away people's power. And I think staying consistent in your message and not folding is commendable. So.
Okay,
Both.
thank you. Our next question is a broad one. How does the rapid response work? And we may all three of us want to weigh in on that one. Who would
Well-
like to hear it? Beth, go ahead.
Well, I've been on I've been a legal observer for 7 years, but since Claudia is more involved in the day-to-day running of the rapid response, I think it'd be more appropriate if she answers.
Claudia, can you chip
Yes.
in?
But come in and clarify, please, right? So
Okay.
the rapid response officially has 4 pillars also in a way. So one is the hotline. It's staff, and all of these are it's all done by volunteers, everything by volunteers. So one is the hotline, that a number which was on the yellow card that Jessica referred to. That's a number people can call if they see ICE, immigration enforcement in our county, Napa County, or Solano County. And when one calls that number, the volunteer on the line will ask you questions to help to verify that it may be ICE. Then if that volunteer called a dispatcher feels that there is ICE or a need for further confirmation, they send out a text to people who, as Beth said, are called legal observers. And those legal observers then respond, say, I can come, and are given the address and place to go. And they observe then what ICE is doing in the hope, and they observe that and document that with notes and video, in the hope that that might be useful in a court case. Now we hear, people are being deported without a court case, without due process. But the intent is to provide some support for the lawyers in a court case for anyone who's been detained. The other piece then is that the Rapid Response Network is connected with the California Coalition, is it, for Immigrant Justice, CCIJ? I always forget what all those letters stand for. And the Rapid Response then phone line or dispatcher tries to make contact to find out where someone was taken if they were detained, and to get them on the CCIJ, the California Coalition for Immigrant Justice, list for some sort of paralegal or lawyer, at least to visit them in that detention center and inform them of their rights. They cannot be their immigration lawyer, but they can get paperwork started for a bond hearing, and help them practice their rights. The other thing that the Rapid Response Network does is what Beth referred to, and Jessica, accompaniment, to offer support to a family in whatever way they need if a family member has been detained. And that varies depending on what the family needs. So, the Sanctuary Coalition, or the Sanctuary Housing, that's what you were referring to, Jessica, Sanctuary Housing does this for people who are seeking asylum, but so has the Rapid Response. But now we're thinking we're going more, and refugees, the Sanctuary Housing Coalition has done. But now we're thinking Rapid Response is going to be, because of the number of cases we see coming, just for families who had someone impacted by ICE activities. And again, it's only if the family wishes, though. And that kind of help it runs the gamut again, as with those who are refugees, from helping with housing, helping with food, resources, rides, social contacts. It's depending on family needs.
Thank you. Thank you. Claudia, can you remind us a little bit of your role in all of this? I know you're a league member and
That's right.
the NBOP as well, but there are many people on the call who don't even know what NBOP is.
Well, NBOP is a North Bay Rapid Response, North Bay Organizing Project, was formed in this county in 2010 with the mission of promoting leadership and addressing social, tell me all that, justice, economic justice, the justice.
Climate justice, housing justice, yeah.
It's come into that with those broader terms. And the Rapid Response Network was formed in 2017 in response to the fear of immigration actions, immigration enforcement actions. And I'm a member I joined that, having been a member of NBOP, but I joined the Rapid Response Network in its founding. And I'm on the steering committee, the group that meets to kind of determine the direction of the rapid response and what are our needs. But I'm a representative from Sonoma Valley. So specifically, my role is in Sonoma Valley, where I'm helping to recruit and train legal observers and people for accompaniment and dispatchers and all that. But I just do this small area, right?
We all do our parts. And I know the Rapid Response Network is even bigger. It's in Oregon, it's in Washington, it's in many other states. And it's needed and it's grown. And for anyone who's interested, the North Bay Operating NBOP does very good legal response training for legal observers. There are roles, the team is sent out, but there are different roles that people play depending on when you get the call and when you respond and arrive at the scene. It's interesting. Yeah. I have a question.
Community effort.
Yeah, it's a little bit different, but not so different. Jessica and Beth, both of you have mentioned accompaniment and accompanying immigrants to legal services and more. And I wonder if you could tell us a little more specifically, maybe Jessica, we could start with you, about what your experiences have been with accompaniment and what different situations that people have had that you've had to accompany people with, and what you see as the difficulties of it.
Well, yeah, I mean, right now, like we had mentioned, we are doing surveys across the county, figuring out the needs of the immigrant community. And one of the options on the survey is that I've been getting feedback from community members is feeling some sense of welcome or integration into the community. Some people find it hard to to integrate into the community. So I feel like accompaniment in some areas, volunteers who are willing and able to welcome new members to the community. But more than that, I have a wide variety of immigrants who have had different experiences. When working with Vicky from QAA, asylum seekers from different countries who were being attacked for their sexual orientation or for fear of prosecution from their countries. They come to our community looking for advocates, some sort of entry into Sonoma County, and so there's a lot of different stories, a lot of different unique experiences. I mean, I've had people also tell me that they've been here for years. They have jobs here, they have kids here, they have own businesses here, and they don't feel welcome in the community currently, and they've counseled or talked to me about considering leaving the country because of the current status of how things are going, and for fear of prosecution or fear of like a forced deportation where they lose their homes, they lose their cars or whatever they have. So there's a lot of concern on different levels throughout the community. So
Thank
so,
you.
so that's why when we say like any kind of volunteer, any kind of support helps, right? If you're feeling this way, having someone who's willing to take the time out of their day to say, hey, like you're welcome here, you know, you're an integral part of the community, and we'd love for you to stay. I think that's important.
Okay. Beth, is there anything you'd like to add to this?
I'd just like to say, like Claudia, I've been an accompanier since 2017. And I've done everything from really simple things like tutor a child to opening up my spare bedroom. You know, my husband and I had a family from El Salvador live with us for a while. So accompaniment can be an hour a month. Accompaniment can be, you know, you totally are immersed in their lives. Like Claudia said, it's very specific to what the family wants and what the family needs. The kind of the mantra of accompaniment is we walk beside you, not in front of you. So it's not our job to lead them and make decisions for them. Our job is to offer the support that they tell us that they need. So it's led by them. And so if that's something that interests you, there is always opportunities to accompany a family in one way or another.
Okay, thank you.
I'd like to add to that. I think that the
Okay.
other aspect of accompaniment is accompanying to court hearings, right? And as Beth said, you know, it depends on what the family needs, but there's both local court and there's has been immigration court in the past in San Francisco. Now, that's kind of changing, I've been told, as far as going to immigration court, that a lot of the hearings are now in Bakersfield and not in San Francisco anymore. So it's by Zoom, but also even during COVID, we could go on and join a Zoom hearing of court, of immigration court, and be there sort of as witnesses to show that there was community support for the individual. So we're still finding out what exactly we can do now, and what this administration and this, because we're under Customs and Border Patrol in this area, what they will allow, which is different than what a judge might allow. But so there are multiple possibilities.
Okay.
I'm getting something strange on my screen here. All right.
I have two more questions. One has to do with the grants that have been awarded. That's part of the $500,000 that Secure Families Collaborative is administering. Can you tell us a little bit about them? What kinds of grants are there? What size of grants are there? Is all the money used up, or is there some in reserve? And how do you see managing it going forward?
Okay, so to start, it's all used up in the sense that it's all been attributed to a certain organization. They have to meet certain deliverables, and you know the money's distributed in 3 distributions over a year, but the money has all been placed with different organizations. So as long as they meet their deliverables, they will get the money. For those who applied who didn't get the money, we're trying, because there were some great proposals that did not get funded. we had an independent review committee, and they chose, and all 5 of the projects that were funded are great projects, but there were great projects that were not funded. So we are trying, behind the scenes to figure out ways that we can fund some of those other projects, at least partially. So yes, that money's all been sort of given out, but hopefully there'll be more money. And the main 2 things, what the Board of Supervisors said is they want legal education, not attorneys to take on cases, because sometimes a case can last 5, 10, 12 years. Legal education that can be done quickly, and they want it done in every single supervisorial district. So that's the main 2 criteria for the grants was, can you offer education to our immigrant communities, and will people in every single corner of the county have access? So 2 of the 5 organizations that were, and then the third thing, which the supervisors didn't mention, but was important to me, and it seems like it was important to the committee, was the whole idea of trusted messengers. So for example, one of the grants went to the community health centers, and many of them said, we will provide the service, we don't need the money. But some of them, but they're trusted messengers. People trust their doctors. And some of them went to already existing organizations that have promotoras, which are health workers that actually go door to door, do vaccine education. Money went to KBBF, which is a very trusted voice in our community for both the Spanish speaking and Indigenous speaking portions of our population. So the 5 grants, if I remember, 2 are healthcare, one's KBBF, one's a family resource center, and the 5th one is the African Advocacy Network, because almost all of funding has gone towards Spanish speaking immigrants, which is appropriate because they're the largest number in our county. But we also wanted to make sure that people from Haiti and from Somalia and places like that had access to legal education. So that money will go to pay for some interpreters and translators coming up from San Francisco to put on legal clinics specifically for those people. So those are the grants.
Pretty comprehensive. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And my last question has to do with resource navigation and whether it has exactly what it is and how has it changed over the years that each of you have been involved with it.
Well, I first started doing resource navigation informally when I became an accompanier in 2017, because you need to figure out, where are the, the community clinics? How do people sign up for Medi-Cal? How do people sign up at the food bank? Where can people take ESL classes? So I started informally becoming a resource navigator back then. And it's basically directing people to resources. I mean, that's sort of the definition. And then after the 2017 fire, I volunteered for about 6 months at the volunteer center, and I did resource navigation for fire survivors. And it was very similar, to what I was doing sort of simultaneously with accompaniers, which was directing people to resources. They weren't all the same resources that we were directing our immigrant communities to, but there was some overlap. And then I started creating a resource guide for the North Bay Rapid Response Network accompaniment teams. And through that, I got introduced to Margaret, our executive director at Secure Families, and she asked me to continue that work with Secure Families. So now we have like over 600 resources in our resource guide. And it can be as simple. I mean, I get calls, they've gone up quite a bit. If somebody asks if it's changed, I would say the biggest change is volume. Both because people are scared, people are afraid to go to work, people are afraid to go to school, and also because some of our community organizations are losing funding. So maybe somebody got a service from one community organization that they no longer have the funding for. So we get calls like some funding has dried up for housing, some funding's dried up for financial assistance. So it's this always juggling the balls, trying to see what is available. I mean, some of the funding, you have to have a 3-day eviction notice to qualify. So it's increased quite a bit, and the complexity has increased as well. Sure, Claudia, do you have anything to add? Oh,
No, go ahead.
okay. I'm sorry, Suki, were you going to ask something?
I was going to ask Jessica if you have anything to add to this.
Oh, I was just gonna give Beth her credit because the resource navigation that I do is because I use the guide that she created. She's
Great.
amazing. I mean, everything is it's perfectly organized. I mean, it's easy to find. Whenever someone calls and they need something, I know where I can find it. So it's awesome. But like she was mentioning, funding has dried up for a lot of these places. So we can, call them 1 month and they'll have a list of services. You call them a month later, half those services aren't available anymore. So it's constantly changing.
Wow.
So having to navigate through that as well.
That's really difficult. But you all are doing such a wonderful job of trying to keep up with all of this. It's so important. Does anybody have any other questions or anything else to add? Because I want to say I'm so happy to be part of this session this afternoon because I've learned a lot, and I know a lot of information is out there now, and I know that this website, not this website, this webinar or this session is going to be, the recording is going to be on our YouTube channel, and I assume there's going to be a link to it from our website, and there may be additional materials that we can link to as well. I want to thank everybody for coming this afternoon and for talking, and I hope we can rise to the occasions that come